Forget everything I've ever told you about RAM. Today we're going to talk about the difficulties of DDR5, specifically with Intel 12th Gen, because it's the only DDR5 system out so far, or platform. Yeah, this one sort of sucks, but you need to know about it. This video is sponsored by Micro Center and their Custom PC Builder. Use the Custom PC Builder to plan your next build, and when parts are added to your cart and in-store pickup is selected, you have the option for a Micro Center technician to fully build your PC for an extra fee. And if the order is placed at least 4 hours before closing, you can enjoy your new PC the very same day. Get the best prices and parts selection at any of Micro Center's 25 locations across the United States. And right now, new customers can get a free 128GB flash drive and a free 128GB micro SD card while supplies last, in-store only, and limit one per email. To see everything that Micro Center has to offer and to learn more about this limited time giveaway, click the link in the description below. I probably have the world's supply of DDR5 right here. Okay, so we got a bunch of different RAM sticks here. Before we get into some of the testing here, I want to explain to you why it's so difficult this time around for turning on XMP and then just having it boot. In the past, when new RAM comes out, DDR3, DDR4, DDR2 even, but DDR3, DDR4, 4 specifically, that base RAM speed we've talked about, how DDR4 is 2133, remember DDR3 is what, 1333 I believe it is, somewhere around there. It takes time for the RAM manufacturing to mature to get faster and faster RAM speeds. But this time around, we went right from the base 4000 up to 6000. And XMP is an overclock. It is an overclock of the CPU's memory controller to be able to handle RAM that's that fast. But because of the fact that everything is doubled in terms of capacity, the faster the RAM and the higher the capacity, the even harder the even is on the RAM controller, or the memory controller. So this is one of those instances where if you watched a video of mine, or any video of mine where I preached, turn on XMP, you're paying for the RAM speeds and you're not getting it, you may notice that your system is boot looping, and it goes into a boot loop hell because of the fact that it just simply won't post that way. And it's even more convoluted by the fact that you might have, see these are 5200 megahertz DIMMs right here from Corsair. Most RAM started at about 4800 megahertz and up. We didn't really see too many 4000 megahertz DIMMs, which again is the base speed for DDR5. We saw brands going right into the high speeds. So it takes time for BIOS to be updated to support faster RAM. It takes time for the RAM to become validated on different motherboards. Motherboards also play a role in this. And the higher capacities, it puts a lot of strain on the controllers. But like I said, you might find 6000 megahertz will boot with 2 sticks installed, but not 4, and vice versa. And then there's the combining of dual RAM kits. Just because you have 4 DIMM slots, and there's gonna be a little bit of basic knowledge in here for those that might be new to this. This is not an all-inclusive understanding timings or channels and all that stuff. I'm just giving you a little bit of basic knowledge. Just because you have 4 DIMM slots on your motherboard does not mean it's a 4-channel RAM. It just means it's 2 channels or two DIMMs per channel. So you could double the capacity per channel. So if you find a motherboard that only has 2 slots, like the one that we put in Kia PSPC, that's a dedicated overclocking motherboard, which is designed to only have 1 stick per channel because of the ultimate stability you find with single DIMM per channel. Now, what a lot of people will do, myself included, is instead of buying quad channel kit, which was something that you really only used on either Threadripper for AMD or Extreme Platform for Intel, which had 4 channels or quad channels of RAM, they were designed to work together. What we're finding with 12th Gen is if you buy 2 dual channel kits, which are the same part number, the same timings, the same frequency and all that, and put them together, it won't work. It's really messed up. So there's a lot here I want to test and kind of figure out, but I want to show you guys just how frustrating this can be. And we're going to be using our 12th Gen system here as sort of our test mules. Now it's important to remember that every motherboard's BIOS is going to look different. This is an MSI board, which looks very different than ASUS, which also ASUS looks very different than say ASRock, which looks different than Gigabyte. So your mileage may vary on some of these settings and such, but what they all will have is over here somewhere an XMP profile. Now there's only 1 profile for this particular set of RAM. Sometimes you'll see 2. You will find these settings also in overclocking, because like I mentioned, it is an overclocking function. So this one's just different, which says memory XMP. So enabled, right? So that's gonna enable our 5200 megahertz, which you can see right here. And 5200 is not that difficult. It's when you start getting up to like the 6,000 megahertz range, which G.Skill, we have a few of those here. These are 4 G.Skill 6,000 megahertz stims. In fact, there's no LEDs on them either because these have LEDs at 6,000, but these do not because for whatever reason, they don't. I don't know how else to explain that one. But you can see, it posted no problem here. This is our Origin PC 12th gen build. No problem. Hey, there's my red lighting and stuff. So what I've done now is I've added the exact same memory spec in white. The only reason I did that is so I can keep track of it. Anyway, they're exactly the same. This one just has a W in the number because it's white. 5200 megahertz, same timings, exact same part number, just with a W at the end of it. Is it going to boot? Well, we'll see. Because adding, did I just turn it? There we go. Because adding a second set of RAM is where everyone's been having the problem. So let's see if it posts at 5200. It's slowly doing something. It's probably training it right now. Stuck on 79. Oh. Jeez. Slowest post ever right now. One thing I've noticed on 12th gen is if you change anything, it's just like, what? Okay, so it did post. But is it at XMP or did it? Okay, memory has changed, press F1 to run setup. So it just posted right now at 4,000, which should be the base, because it noticed something was different. Yeah, see, there it is right there. DDR speed 4,000. So if I go in here now to XMP profile and click that, all I changed is the XMP, but the issue has been whether or not it's going to, is the best way to put it. I don't know how else to explain it. I have a feeling this one might, because 5200 isn't too crazy. It's when you start really getting up to the high speeds. We've got a red light right now on the motherboard. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's also important to keep this all as one clip so they can see in real time the length of time this is taking. I mean, it's progressing just very slowly. We still have a red light on the board, which we didn't have a moment ago. I think it might have just boot looped. A2. Nope. We got keyboard. We have no video yet. Oh, it's boot looping. See this? Yeah, it's boot looping for sure. Oh no. It just didn't initialize video at the start. Is it actually running 5200? Yeah, it is. Okay, so this one actually worked pretty well. But why did I undo my colors? Whatever. But let's say you shelled out the money now for 6,000 megahertz DIMM. So now I have, I'm not sure how many gigabytes of, I don't know how big these sticks are, I really don't. They gotta be at least 16, there's gotta be at least 64 gigs. 6,200 megahertz. So right now, it should identify a RAM change, which should then mean that it's going to give us that same memory has changed screen. Okay, it is 64 gigs at 6,200. So the question now is gonna be, will it post with XMP? The 6,200 has definitely been hit or miss. So I'm turning this so you can, this is why I love motherboards with QR or Q code readouts, because you can definitely tell if it's stalled or it's hanging on something. If it hangs on a number, you can sort of figure out what's going on. Oh, there's a there. Ooh, those double zeros. First time we've seen that. And then it went green back to red in a boot, in a loop. Now that's not uncommon because it's training. Every time it posts like a new configuration, it trains it. Let's do a video someday about memory training and what's actually happening here. Are we stuck on 31? Nope. moving. But do you see how this can make people think something's wrong? How long this is taking? This is not a normal boot process. Usually after it does it once, you're fine. So we're on our second loop. 3C, 55, 00, and it's looping. So here's an example of 6200 megahertz RAM with a otherwise factory setup. We do not have an overclock applied to this CPU at all. This is out of the box. The only button we've pushed is XMP, which is what you would expect to get what you pay for. And now it's looping. And what's gonna happen here is it'll probably loop a few times and then the BIOS might eventually figure out like, hey, something's not right here. And then it will just go back to factory fail-safe defaults. And then it will warn you like, hey, but it's on its fourth boot loop. And there's number 5. So this is where people tend to freak out, especially if they're new and they built their first PC and they saved up. They're like, you know what, I'm gonna go 64 gigs of RAM and I'm gonna go fast RAM, right? 12th gen Intel CPU. There's no reason to expect that it wouldn't boot. Yep, okay, I think it just went into safe mode. After like 6 boots, we got USB, D6. This is where it's looking for an input device. A2, okay, we made it past that. So here's the thing, look, it completely bypassed our DisplayPort initialization, not in BIOS. It's gonna probably go right to the desktop if it comes on. But the fans also went full speed. And I'm glad I kept talking through that so you guys could see the process and how long this has all taken place so far. But now I have keyboard, I have mouse. A1 says we're posted, but we have no video. See this? So this is where newbies would really get frustrated and they would start thinking something's majorly wrong with their system. And this is where a CMOS clear is necessary. Because a CMOS clear will force it to go back to that base clock. I'm just gonna hit reset right now. I'm curious as to if it's going to potentially just boot now with whatever its most known settings were. If initial reports are correct, by removing 2 sticks of RAM, it should post. That's what people are telling me, and that's what just folks that I've been talking to about this problem have said, which means the even faster RAM at 6200, because I believe those are 6000, is why it's a dual DIMM kit. I'm gonna do a CMOS clear for good measure. That's flash BIOS. Is there no CMOS clear button on the back of this motherboard? MSI, what year is this? You gotta charge $500-600 for a board. It better have a clear CMOS button. I didn't push anything. Why did it turn on? It just turned itself on. How do I figure out how to clear the CMOS on this bitch? I'm not turning it on. It's turning itself on. I'm gonna turn that off. And I'm gonna take out 2 sticks. Okay, it booted. So now we should be able to just get into BIOS. Well, I think what's important to show though is the fact that I did not clear the CMOS. I didn't, because I didn't know how to do it. And it kept turning itself on, ironically. And then by removing 2 sticks, now we're into Windows. Okay, enabling XMP. Oh wait, speed 4800. Yeah, it booted at 4800, which is not what I told it to do. How weird is that? 4800 is a weird arbitrary number. Because 4000 is where it was on that first boot when I just let it do its own thing. Fine, whatever. Save and exit, yes. Will it post 6000 megahertz with 2 sticks of RAM? I know I've gone on so many tangents and stopped talking mid-sentence on trains of thought, but you guys are seeing this in real time. That's why I like doing these types of videos without them being super edited and polished, because you can see the frustration in real time. Because I think this might actually make people realize, oh, that's what I was saying. All I did was force a change with the memory by taking 2 sticks out that forced it to retrain and retry, and then it worked. But I think it's gonna boot loop again. Yep, there it goes. Nope, yep, nope. Oh. Yeah. It's doing that thing where it half posted, where we don't have a video right now, but it might pop up in the desktop. Because, why would, wait. Nope, never mind, rebooting. Just kidding. I like how even the pump, okay, there we go. The pump was like, nope, it did go. So do you see the importance of not cutting these? Because it's like boop, 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 boop. But are we at 6,200? Or 6,000, I mean. 6,000. The only difference is I took 2 sticks out. So there's your example too on capacity affects compatibility / stability. But it's something that it's always been the case. It's just, I don't think RAM at even DDR4 levels was getting fast enough for that to really be a problem. The first time I had a legit turning on XMP was a no-go post, period, was the Crucial Ballistics Max 5200 megahertz DDR4 DIMMs that I have no LED bars on them, that absolutely positively refused to post on my Intel 10th Gen 10900K at anything above 4000 megahertz. Anything above 4000 was a no-go. Now imagine that. You paid $900 per 2 sticks. And I had 4 of them in there. $1,800 worth of RAM. Yeah. It was the fastest RAM in the world at the time. And we were attempting to use it for our overclocking competition stuff when we were doing with Steve. And RAM was absolutely affecting our score. And we knew that. Tight timings and fast RAM was absolutely bringing up our score. Imagine paying for 5200 DIMMs at $900 per 2 sticks, or $450 a stick, and then not being able to use 1200 megahertz of it. And then 11th gen came around. 11th gen, 11900K, booted, 5200 every time. So you can see why I'm saying 12th gen, out of the box, the RAM speeds being as fast as they are absolutely not letting it post. Now I have pretty good confidence here that the 6200 DIMM sticks would boot without a problem, because 6000 just did. But, I had to put my money where my mouth is now, or my mouth where my money is, or whatever, and test it. Okay, so this is the 6200 megahertz RAM. I almost feel like as time goes on, you see it all the time with new motherboards. The first few BIOS iterations, 3, 4, 5 BIOS iterations, will say improved memory support. And it's because of these exact problems. What's funny too is if your system's being stupid and you actually want to force it to do this, you don't even have to you can take out 1 stick of RAM or just swap them, because each RAM has an ID. And when you move it, it forces this to happen too. There we go. And 6200 megahertz. So yeah, 2 sticks, you're good. You're golden. Which sort of sucks, because with so many motherboards coming with 4 sticks of RAM, I feel like people's natural inclination is going to be to fill it up. I want to see now exactly where we no longer post with the 4 sticks. This is why I have also scrapped. Remember I said my personal build, which by the way, I'm just waiting on the cables. They're coming from Australia. You can understand what shipping is like. Just be patient. I am. That's why I scrapped the idea of going to 128 gigs of RAM just for lulz, because I will never touch a fraction of it, and just going with 2 sticks, because as you can see, I'm not going to be able to get the XMP out of it. So I'm not going to show you guys me testing over and over and over the different speeds, but what I am going to show you here is, if you want to do this for yourself, the logic. Enable your XMP profile, that way your timings and your voltage tighten up a little bit. Now I'm going to go down here to the memory, where the memory speed is.
So you don't want to reboot after you enable XMP?
Yeah, do not reboot after XMP, because obviously it won't post. We've already showed that with this particular setup. So I'm going into memory here, and then I want to change the frequency. I know 6000 is not going to boot, and I know 4000 will. So I'm going to start somewhere in the middle. I'm going to start like 5000. I'm going to see if 5000 megahertz will boot. And I'm just going to do this until where I find it doesn't. And then I'll go back. And then what you have to do technically is run some memory intensive tasks, whether it be some sort of mem test or a utility or just your editing apps and stuff, and test for stability there. Because it might boot, it might post, it might go online, but you then might start getting weird blue screen errors if the memory controller is right on the edge of its stability. We'll just do this one take right now to see if it boots, and then I'll come back and show you where it finally decided it wasn't going to go anymore. I have a feeling 5000 will go just fine. Unless it's just straight up a 4-channel anything above base problem, which I'm not completely convinced that's not the case. That's not down. There we go. That was bugging me. Okay, it just boot looped. You know what? I don't even feel like inclined on telling you guys where it finally boots. If it can't even do 5,000 at the voltage it's set. So there you go. I've had a lot of requests lately for me to do a video about DDR5 and speed and compatibility and RAM stick count and stuff because people have been experiencing all kinds of problems. I feel bad for one guy on Twitter that told me he just ordered all his parts and he ordered like fast 4 sticks of RAM. Maybe get your money back for 2 of them. So a little bit of advice then, at least at this point, for buying advice is gonna be, if you need the capacity, just buy something close to base, and then that way you're not overpaying for speed that obviously you can't use, if you absolutely need the capacity. If you want the speed, if RAM speed is important to you, like gaming RAM speed is fairly important, then any dual channel kit just about should work, like I showed you guys, because I showed you a 6200 megahertz kit that booted with 2 sticks just fine. I showed you how 6000 won't boot with 4 sticks, and now it won't boot at 5000. And it probably wouldn't boot at 4800 either, because reasons, but. So that'd be my advice. If you need the capacity, get the lowest speed RAM kit that you can, unless you want to bet, wager against future compatibility, allowing you to turn it up later, you might be paying for performance you're never gonna get. And then speed, 2 sticks, you're fine. Whether it be 32 gig sticks or 16 gig sticks. It's not the first time we've seen this. It's just the soonest I've seen this because of how fast RAM launched and went with DDR5. So as this thing continues to boot loop, why don't you continue to subscribe if you're new around here and maybe check out some of our older videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.